Kagurabachi chapter 95. Man, I'm excited to be doing these again. But this chapter, it wasn't completely finished. There's some sketch work. The sketch work, honestly, I love seeing, even though it's obviously worse than the finished product. But just seeing the sketch work kind of gives us some insight into the thought process behind these panels and whatnot. So I kind of do appreciate seeing it, even though it's not probably what everyone wants. But the chapter begins with this long monologue by Kasen, and he's explaining his philosophy behind the nature of power and sorcery inside Japan. And essentially his logic is saying that they need to utilize the... can't remember the name. Utilize the Magatsumi, the enchanted blade, in order to actually get the sorcerers under control in Japan. Basically explaining why he's helping his Shaku utilize that sword. Now initially I was nervous because I thought he might be set up as a long-term villain, maybe for an arc or a future arc. But as we see later in the chapter, I don't think that's the case. So it actually turned into a pretty good moment for the chapter. But as Kasen, the leader of the Kaminabi monologues, Ichiki chimes in and essentially says, "Hey man, the Shinuchi," which is the, alternate name for the Magatsumi. I can't remember what Magatsumi means in Japanese, but I think it's a bit of a dark name, so it's called the Shinuchi, which to my understanding essentially means the greatest, like a magnum opus. But he says, yeah, the Shinuchi is essentially a nuke. It's the biggest disaster of all time. Why are you trying to unleash this power? What kind of ill-found logic are you using to come to that conclusion? And we flip to this page, which is really simple but really great. If you look at the black backdrop on the middle panel, and then the whiteness of the Shinuchi, just really makes it pop. Then Kasen and Ichiki are literally framed in between each other with the sword in between them, because that's really the focal point of this whole conversation is the Shinuchi. So the physical framing of those panels, having those two characters separated by that sword visually on the page, is just really incredible. And also the use of blank space behind the characters really helps you zone in on the tension between those two individuals specifically. But the conversation between Kasen and Ichiki turns into something more philosophical, debating whether it's the user or the weapon itself which is the blame for disasters that happen, or in this case, the disaster, the malediction that did happen in the past. I believe that was 18 years ago. But as they're discussing this, we get this page, which I really like. And I just first want to point out the perspective and the vanishing point in that first panel. I believe it's just a simple 1-point perspective marked with that yellow dot. But I say simple, but the detail on this panel is just incredible, really. It made me laugh when I read the chapter for the first time, because like this one small panel had so much detail, but then we get sketch work later on in the chapter. But I think that's more so just to say backgrounds. That might be an assistant. I'm blanking on his editor's name, but that might just be what he does a lot. He does a lot of the backgrounds, so maybe that's why it's so detailed. But the characters later are in sketches, or maybe Hokuzono just finds characters more difficult to draw, so it takes more time to do that, which is could be an option too. But it did make me laugh a little bit, just how detailed this one panel is, considering the later points in the chapter. But I also want to point out the eye flow in this page. The eye flow is really simple, but your eye is kind of naturally guided towards that vanishing point in the first panel, because that's where the text bubbles are too, the first ones. Then your eye goes straight down to that middle panel. And that middle skinny panel has so much tension. It's, again, simple. Just blank space locking on the eyes, but it just breathes tension. You know, kind of a simple technique, which isn't always one-to-one true, but those horizontal panels are typically used to kind of stretch time almost, emphasize something, just let the pacing breathe a little bit, as opposed to like a taller and skinnier panel, though always not one-to-one, obviously. Yeah, it goes through the eye flow goes through that middle panel, all the way down to characters who are framed in the middle of that bottom panel, down to the Shinuchi. The whole conversation, the whole page leads your eye down to the Shinuchi, and you're looking from the sword onto the characters. Basically a mirror image of what they're looking at, just to emphasize, hey, this sword's important. It's simple, it doesn't mean a ton to the actual story, but it really is effective, and it's good framing, it's visually appealing, it's nice to look at. And this next page is just great too. That first panel, the perspective, 1-point perspective, very simple, but subtly dynamic. It looks nice. There's a decent amount of depth for just how much space covered up with the text bubbles and how small the panel is. Well, it's not that small. You know what I'm saying. It's got good depth for the frame he's working with in this confined room. The eye flow on this page is really exceptional, especially this first panel. The vanishing point, the perspective, the speech bubbles, and the characters all point your eye in this first panel to Kasen, who's just staring down the Sanuchi. He's beaming at it, and you can see his eyes in the next page. Just dead-eyed, focused, staring at it. And everything in that first panel points your eyes to him. And then, easy enough, follow your eyes down to Ichiki at the bottom. Simple, but effective once again. I really do think Hokuzono is one of the best, at least right now, with eye flow. Just so many of his pages flow thematically and visually at the same time. And as Kasen wraps up his monologue in the next page, we get to see Hakuri this time pinned visually between Kasen and the Shinuchi, as opposed to Ichiki earlier in the chapter. Because now it's Hakuri who's the direct threat to Kasen, because he's the one trying to seal it away. That brings it back to the tension that's built in the last chapter. The whole reason the monologue's happening, at least in the short term. Then as Kasen gears up the fight, we get a nice close-up of Hakuri reacting. Then that leads to maybe my favorite page of the chapter. Just a beautiful full page spread of Kasen getting his face punched in. I mean, yeah, this page is just great. Like I said earlier, I was a little worried they might be trying to set him up by having Azami take him out so easily and so quickly. Almost like a rug pull after like what might be 6 pages or something of monologuing. Great moment in the chapter. And I just want to point out the perspective in this panel on the next page, and how the lines on the building, the wall, are kind of framing Azami's head. I like how it looks. And then those first 3 panels, all the characters are either pointing towards and or looking at Azami directly, kind of just framing how they're all looking at him, even though they're not all on the same panel. Sorry. And then on the next page, Azami, or Azami, I'm not sure how you say it, he basically declares that he's going to kill their leader, kill the leader of the Shishaku. Then it hard cuts to Yura fighting Natsuki and Yuraha. And the eye flow on this page, it can't get any simpler than this. It's quite literally just straight vertically down the page. From that little metal bar down through Yura, down to Uraha. And at this point in the chapter is where we start seeing some sketch work. I do hope Hokuzono's not too tired, because man, he's only 24, and I truly do think he's the GOAT. I mean, when this chapter came out, I think I said the GOAT, like the GOAT, the GOAT. I think I said that probably 20-30 times in a row, just dancing around my room. Just that's how hype I was when I read this chapter. Just because some of the pages were just awesome. I like this story quite a bit. So I hope he doesn't tire himself out. That's all to say. Because we did get a color page, which I didn't bring up until now. I just realized we did get a color page this chapter. I'll throw it up here now. The color page is really great. I've been seeing some people say they prefer this over the Volume 9 cover that was released earlier. That might be part of why there's sketch work in this chapter, because like 2 color spreads in close proximity. Plus, I think he's doing artwork right now for a card game. I can't remember what the card game, like what the TCG is, but I believe that's happening. I think he's designing the cards right now. He's doing it himself, so it sounds like he's just got a lot on his plate right now as far as workload. And like most new mangaka, he doesn't really take that many breaks. I'm not even sure. Probably less than 5. I'd have to check. But yeah, there's barely any breaks, so hope he takes one. Cause I can wait a week. I don't want him to burn out, you know. I mean, he's the GOAT. Well, not objectively. That's too hard to say. There's too many good authors, too many good artists. But I do really like him, and I want to see his work continue for many years to come. So I hope he doesn't get burnt out. So one chapter of sketches doesn't really worry me too much. But anyways, back to the chapter. Yura's essentially just whooping Uraha and Natsuki's ass right now with the power of the Shinichi. The chokehold, throwing him away. You see him slide away. A nice cool panel. Then on the next page, we get to see my GOAT. I think maybe my favorite character in just a few chapters, Okudo. Definitely my favorite Hishaku at the very least. And I guess just to mention, I can't believe he got his arm cut off. I was not expecting that. That was fucking crazy. But yeah, we get a nice cool close-up of him. You see him holding up a bookshelf as well, holding a sword. Then the panel below that, it's mostly, or it's all sketch work, but it's an incredible panel. The contrast between the dark clothes on Natsuki and Uraha versus the white shirt and the blank white background where Yura is, just draws your eye right to him. It's really good, even though it's just sketch work. And the sketch work, you can just kind of see the shapes a bit rougher, but you can see the shapes, the outlines a bit more clearly, not as well defined as like the typical chapters, but you can see the thought process. You can see the background sketches. You can see like the horizon line in the background, if that's what you want to call it. It is kind of a close up though. But I'm rambling. This panel is really good. I like it quite a bit. And then the next page, I have no words for this page. I mean, this page is incredible. I mean, Hokuzono's use of blank space, of white space, just immaculate. And just the hand, the dripping, the flowers in the background. It's the eyes, man. Just a lot of people complain about Hokuzono's eyes. I don't know. His eyes are good. They've gotten better. Just no words for this page, man. Just wow. this page just aura, just pure the tension in the fingertips, the veins popping out, and those orbs around his arm just wrapping the way it wraps behind his hand just looks incredible. Then over the other panels, just come on, man. This dude's fucking awesome. And that leads into this beautiful double page. And you just see the fist going across the panels, this unignorable, this dominating presence visually, which encapsulates the in-story power. I mean, just a great technique, striking visually, fun to look at, and then just pointing out the perspective here on the wide shot. You see that vanishing point is separating Yura and the other two, Uraha and Natsuki. So you see the impact right between them, and then the reverberations right below the vanishing point. Your eye is just guided from the fist too, which is pointing down into the walls, which are all pointed towards that vanishing point in the center, 1 point perspective, just so you feel that impact, that reverberation in that center point where Yura's fist strikes. Just great visually. And Yura's giving them the business, man. The Shinichi's strength. It's just a great page, really. Then we get some reaction panels from Uraha and Natsuki. And Uraha pulled his hair in order to dodge the attack with him. And then Natsuki's not too happy about that. Then on the next page, we get this really cool shot just of the sunken dark eyes of the Shinichi sword bearer, and then Yura, who's using the power, and Yura declares he's gonna go kill the sword master, presumably so he can take full ownership of the sword. Then right below we get this really badass entrance of Azami, and I really wish it wasn't a sketch because the outfit, the pose, it's so tough, and the little bit of white space around him, and how the walls leading up to him are kind of blank, but the further left you go, a little bit more shaded it goes, just kind of making that darkness of his clothing pop out, stand out. Just a really cool panel. Wish it wasn't a sketch, but still looks great. And then on the next page, we get another panel of Azami's entrance. And this one might be tougher than the last, man. And the sketch really works for this because he just looks uncouth, just unruly. And I did a little outline here, just the structure of the rubble and the door frame, just perfectly framing him. And then the contrast between his dark clothing and then the orbs and the sleeve of Yura just make those two characters on the panel really pop out, and then kind of guides your eye to the next panel. We get a fun little reaction shot of Kasen here, all beat up. I hope he dies. And then, I'm not sure what I should call this. I think I might just call it promo. We got Ichiki in the bottom panel essentially just hyping up Azami, saying, hey, Azami was just, he's being humble. he wasn't being truthful when he said he wasn't the best sorcerer. He truly is the GOAT. So he's just hyping up his strength, hyping up the fight in the next chapter, doing a wrestling promo, classic shonen business. And to end off the chapter, we get this incredible full page spread. Just the lightning bolt on the fingertips, the eyes, the low gaze, and the shading on the jacket looks really good. He just drops a bar. Don't you worry, Rokuhira. You can rest in peace. And I hope we get some kind of character development, some kind of interaction with Azami and Chihiro, because maybe Azami knew Rokuhira pretty well. I mean, who knows? And just for the sake of it, it'd be cool to see the two of them interact a decent bit. Because two cool characters, two strong characters, cool aura. But man, what a great chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doffle After Show. First off, I swear I'll be more consistent with videos. At the very least, I want to do a chapter review. I'm gonna hold myself accountable, at least do every week up until chapter 100, or including chapter 100, because I don't want to miss that for sure. I want to be caught up and doing the reviews before that. But I don't know what's up with me. Making a lot of music, listen to a lot of house music. My friends and I did the Fortnite Daft Punk experience. Man, that was incredible. I mean, I love Daft Punk. I mean, I think I say a lot is I think the three most influential musicians to live or groups are Bach, Charlie Parker, Bird, and Daft Punk. Like, genuinely, I think they're so genius. And the Fortnite concert was incredible, man. I was a little skeptic, but it got me to buy the skins. I haven't played Fortnite in 2 years, so that was really fun. And I've been playing Hades 2. That's what you're seeing in the background. I guess spoilers, whoops. But it looks nice, and it's not that much of a spoiler. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Hades 2, and I've been playing a ton of Silksong. Man, that game's incredible. I loved Hollow Knight. And yeah, I was gonna use Silksong as the B-roll for this part, but I didn't want to give like any spoilers for that game whatsoever, just because it's really an incredible game. But yeah, I want to keep doing the chapter reviews. I might edit a video of the Fortnite Daft Punk experience. Depends how much time I have and how funny it is. And also my headset broke, so all the audio will be from like my webcam mic. Because I wasn't using my nice mic, or this isn't even my nice mic, but whatever. Yeah, I might do some music stuff for the YouTube. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. It just comes with motivation. Most of my demos I make just kind of sit on my laptop, and I'll send them to a few friends. But that's about it. But anyways, if you got it this far, thank you for listening. Maybe subscribe if you like it. Like just me rambling, talking about manga, art, music, whatever. That's all I got. Peace.